Utility price hikes on gas, electricity and whatever else. How will that affect you as a UK landlord, especially if you own HMOs? Well, check out this video as we go through that detail. Talking about hot water, I'll be asked a question about what gas price hikes, what can I do with the landlords and how do we manage this? I'm going to give this out to the panel members because obviously without gas you don't have hot water, do you? And that's the whole point of HMOs, is that we pay for the utilities for our tenants. What issues are you facing, Bronwen, and what faces are you from the start of the borrowers, Paul.Hilliard?
It's a great question and it's very topical, and I'm sure that's why the question was asked. So yes, as HMO landlords, we generally, and not always, but usually we include all the bills. So utilities is one of the biggest, and gas prices are going up rapidly. So yeah, the aim is, if you're refurbing, as I do, and you use a great builder like Ross, Ross is going to tell you, you don't want a gas boiler. You want to do this electric jobby. So he can tell us about what that's all about. So what I've tended to have done with my newer properties or refurbed properties is to go all electric. But that wasn't because I knew gas would be going up, but we want to make sure that our properties are efficient, and going electric with some of these new, amazing, newfangled boilers can be very efficient for the future. So, and the one other thing I will mention, and I'll again give a link, Simon, is that I have a company that manages my utilities for me. So we find the best provider, we do it on a fixed rate, and we have all our utilities on commercial rates. So if you're a professional landlord and you want to manage your utilities, use a broker, as I do, and I'll give you their details because they are fantastic. I don't even have to worry about when the fixed rates are coming up because they let me know. They then say, here's your choices. It doesn't mean to say they won't go up, but I can fix them for several years, which makes it really easy for me, but also I'm using an expert, as I like to do. Over to, who was that? The person with the squeaky chair, Tim, was it?
Yep, the man with the squeaky chair. What I'm going to do is go over to Teresa first, because what I want to do is go over to Ross second and then Simon. So, and there's a leading question as part of this segment. So Teresa, you got your hand up. Why don't you take us through your details?
Talking about the gas prices going up.
She's on mute. She's on mute again.
Sorry.
It seems to click. It clicks off when you start, and then
I've got a sensitive device.
It's when she clicks like connect like that, it turns on and off.
Yeah, I'm fully automated. Yeah, so the gas prices. If you are a landlord who's paying for the gas, so you're worried about the price going up, for example, if it's included within the rent, you can include a clause, like a fair usage clause in the tenancy agreement. So you could kind of work out, what would be a standard usage in a tenancy, and then just say anything above that, then they will be responsible for paying it. So you could do it that way. You could increase the rent as well. That's another way.
That's good. Well, the reason why I wanted to bring, and I'm actually going to bring Paul.Hilliard into this as well, so hopefully Ross and Paul, you can come on to this. But if gas prices are obviously going to be going up, we want to be talking about efficiencies, EPCs, which is what I'm going to bring Simon into last. But starting with you, Ross, we've got to start being more insulated and making sure that heat doesn't go out. We talked about things like extractor fans and putting systems in place to prevent, overheating the house and not losing heat. What kind of tips can you give to people in this regard, especially when utility prices are going up?
I think there's a massive balance and a massive calculation to do from the cost of new technologies, and the technologies are there. Ground source, air source, heat pumps are all out there. but they are very expensive. And the sort of rises you're talking about at the moment will not compensate you for the cost of the install of that technology. Simple things, I mean, and we'll talk about it on EPCs a bit later, but insulate your loft, insulate your walls with the right material. Make sure you've got the right material in there, and make sure your windows are sealed. And again, there's a question on windows and fences, so we'll leave that one for a bit later, but they're the simple ones. Extractor fans, shuttered extractors, shuttered grills on the outside to try and keep the heat in.
And Paul, from your perspective, obviously we're talking about supplies, aren't we, in terms of how people might insulate their homes. What can LNPG do to help?
Yeah, I totally agree with Ross's comments. You know, you've got to be careful that your cost to install does not supersede the savings you're ever going to make. And that's one of the issues with EPCs. But what I would suggest is that, as Bronwen suggested, always look to fix your prices in advance. On HMOs, always look to do commercial rates because they will be better than residential rates. And the other important thing to consider when you're looking at utility, Ross touched on it, look at future advances, but you can also get some seriously good equipment that we'll look at. You've got smart TRVs, for example, I've got installed in one of my HMOs, and that will monitor that. If the windows are open, it will switch the radiator off. So, that's one of the common experiences I've ever come across, is that when you walk into HMOs, they're usually very warm. People are always in their shorts and T-shirts, and the windows are open. So you don't get condensation issues because the windows are open. Whilst you might want that, you don't want your heat going straight out. So as I said, you can get TRVs, you can get obviously Hive and similar apps such as that, where you can remotely program. So particularly on SA units, your service accommodation, if your Airbnb is empty for a week, you don't have to go and visit it. You just open up the app and switch the heating down to your minimum setting. So look at what smart apps are available. Always check what it's going to cost you to do that. And of course, if you're going to do that, then look at, for LNPG members, you've got the likes of Wolseley, who can give you some advice up to which ones to go through, or you go to Worcester Bosch and they've got their own smart TRVs that they've just launched this year. So there's plenty of opportunities out there to save money, but bear in mind they will cost you to set up in the first place.
Just before I go over to Simon, because these are very interesting points, and I'm looking at it from a finance perspective of, if you are saying to people, we'll pay for utilities, you've got to make sure you track it. One of the devices we use, funny enough, is something that we can install into every room of a property, and we can check the temperature of that property, and we can moderate it. So if we know, and it actually tracks people if they're in and out of the rooms as well. And if it's not, we've got an automation system to say, well, actually, we can take that the temperature down for them if it's being crazily heated at 24 degrees. So there are technologies that you certainly can use to monitor that. To be fair, we use the same technology for noise as well, to prevent people from making too much noise and upsetting the other kind of people in there. So we've got some great technology we're using. So I'll talk to you more about that in a different show, because Louise and I are going to do something about holiday lets and technology and how it can really help you automate your business. But I want to go to Simon Hodgson, because we want to talk about mortgages and EPCs and the Green Deal in terms of the mortgages. Can you tell us more about that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's been a theme that's been sort of bubbling away over just under the last 6 months. The cheapest green EPC mortgage out there at the moment is a discounted variable at 1.99% in a limited company. Granted, it comes with a 2% arrangement fee, so some of the discount is kind of eroded, but nonetheless, it is definitely cheaper, and it's an area where there is more competitiveness coming into the market, without doubt. So if you can make your property efficient, I think it works in two ways. So if you're advertising that property, you can advertise it and make sure that the prospective tenant knows that you've taken steps to bring the energy efficiency of that property up, so that the cost for them running it is less, so they're going to save money. And you can also then market that property at a higher rent because it sits above the competition, and then access a mortgage product that has got a lower interest rate. So actually increase your profit margin. So it's definitely something, you know, we should definitely all be doing as landlords. Don't look at it as an expense, look at it as a way to actually increase the profitability of your business without a shadow of a doubt.
There are many live events that you can register for free. There are 4 events that's showing HK to UK to help people move from Hong Kong to the UK. The Property Expert Panel. If you're a property investor and property developer, this will be very useful for you. Tax Q&A. If you want to ask proactive tax questions in regards to structures and how to mitigate tax in the future. And finally, UK tax return Q&A, as it says, to deal with questions in relation to your tax returns before you submit it to HMRC. Don't forget that these events are live and will be shown on YouTube the day after. So why not register today, start saving tax tomorrow.